The topic we're about to discuss is profoundly disturbing. It involves the most innocent among us and the most depraved acts imaginable. Child abuse is a horror that many of us would rather not think about, especially when it involves people and institutions we are taught to trust and admire. However, turning away from this darkness does not make it disappear. Instead, it allows it to fester and grow in the shadows, hidden behind walls of wealth, power, and influence. It is our moral obligation to bring this hidden epidemic into the light, no matter how uncomfortable the truth may be. Ignoring it is not an option. For the sake of the children, we must find the courage to look. We often hear of these crimes in whispers and conspiracy theories dismissed as too outlandish to be real. Yet, time and again, the headlines prove that the truth can be far stranger and more horrifying than fiction. The case of Jeffrey Epstein, for instance, exposed a network of powerful individuals connected to the systematic abuse of young girls. His private island was not just a luxurious getaway, it was a hunting ground where the innocence of children was stolen. These are not isolated incidents, but part of a pattern that repeats itself in the highest echelons of society. The courage to face this reality is the first step toward dismantling the systems that enable it. Protecting children is the most fundamental responsibility of any society. When that trust is broken by those in positions of power, the damage extends far beyond the immediate victims. It erodes our faith in institutions, from Hollywood to politics, and makes us question who is truly in control. The silence surrounding these issues is a form of complicity. It creates a safe space for predators to operate without fear of consequences. We must break this silence not with sensationalism, but with a serious and unwavering commitment to exposing the truth. The battle for the safety and soul of our children is a battle for the future of our world. This essay is a call to awareness. It is an appeal to your conscience and your innate sense of justice. We will explore the dark motivations behind these crimes, the symbols used to hide them in plain sight, and the brave testimonies of those who have survived. The information may be difficult to process, but it is essential knowledge for anyone who wants to understand the world we live in. We cannot protect our children from a threat we refuse to see. It is time to open our eyes, to listen to the victims, and to stand against the darkness, no matter how powerful its source may appear to be. To understand why these horrific acts occur, we must look beyond simple explanations of deviance and explore the disturbing spiritual motivations that often drive them. For some secret groups and elite circles, the abuse of children is not merely a crime of passion or opportunity, it is a calculated ritual. The first and most profound motive is the deliberate destruction of innocence. Innocence holds a pure, high spiritual vibration. By violating a child, these perpetrators believe they are attacking the very essence of goodness. It is an act of spiritual warfare, a direct assault on the light and purity that Yahweh or God instills in every child, aiming to corrupt and defile what is sacred. A second deeply sinister motive is the belief that these acts can confer power. Some esoteric and occult traditions teach that intense emotional energy, particularly fear and pain, can be harvested and used for personal gain. In these dark belief systems, a ritual involving the trauma of a child is thought to release a potent form of energy that the perpetrators can harness to achieve wealth, influence, or control. This transforms the abuse into a transactional spiritual sacrifice, where a child's soul is the price for earthly power. It is a twisted inversion of sacred rituals, seeking power not from a divine source, but from the torment of the most vulnerable. The third motive is about creating absolute control and unbreakable bonds of secrecy among the abusers. When a group of powerful individuals participates in such heinous crimes together, they become bound by a shared secret that is too monstrous to reveal. This is a form of blackmail and mutual assurance. Everyone is implicated, so no one can speak out without destroying themselves. For the victims, the trauma is used as a tool for mind control. The horrific experience shatters a child's psyche, making them more susceptible to manipulation and programming. This ensures their silence for years, sometimes for a lifetime, trapping them in a prison of fear and confusion. These spiritual reasons are not just theories, they are echoed in the testimonies of survivors and the writings of these dark groups. They engage in these acts to sever the connection between the child and the divine, to feed their own parasitic desires for power, and to forge a secret society sealed by an unforgivable sin. It is a worldview completely alien to most of us, one that sees children not as precious beings to be protected, but as instruments for their dark spiritual ambitions. Understanding these motives is crucial to recognizing the true depth of the evil we are facing. While it is tempting to imagine these crimes are confined to shadowy secret cults meeting in hidden chambers, the terrifying reality is that they often occur within institutions we see every day. The corruption is not always hidden in the dark. Sometimes it operates right under the bright lights of fame and public trust. Elite circles in Hollywood, the music industry, and global politics have repeatedly been exposed as breeding grounds for this abuse. High-profile figures like Sean Diddy Combs, whose homes were raided by federal agents in a sex trafficking investigation, and the late Jeffrey Epstein, who socialized with presidents and princes, show how power provides a shield for predators. The problem extends into institutions that are meant to be pillars of our communities, including churches and government-affiliated programs. The scandal within the Catholic Church is a well-known, tragic example of systemic abuse and institutional cover-up on a global scale. But it is not limited to one denomination. Survivors have come forward with accounts of abuse within various religious organizations, where spiritual authority was twisted to manipulate and silence them. Similarly, there have been disturbing allegations linked to government-run facilities or programs, where children in state care, who are already vulnerable, become easy targets for organized exploitation. Power, in any form, can corrupt, and absolute power provides the perfect cover. The world of international finance and corporate power is another domain where these secrets are kept. The immense wealth and influence of some global elites allow them to operate above the law, using expensive legal teams and public relations firms to crush accusations and discredit victims. They create exclusive clubs and private gatherings on secluded estates or private yachts, far from the eyes of law enforcement and the public. These events, masked as lavish parties or business retreats, can become settings for unspeakable crimes. The victims are often silenced with money, threats, or non-disclosure agreements, ensuring the powerful remain untouchable and their dark secrets remain buried. Ultimately, this evil hides behind a carefully constructed facade of respectability. It wears a suit and tie, a priestly collar, or a glamorous gown. It smiles for the cameras on red carpets and gives speeches at charity galas. This is how predators disarm us. They use their status, wealth, and public image as camouflage. The recent criminal charges against figures like actor Danny Masterson, whose accusers testified that the Church of Scientology discouraged them from reporting the crimes, reveal how institutions can become complicit. We must learn to look past the polished exterior and question the systems that grant certain individuals the power to commit atrocities in secret. One of the most insidious ways these dark agendas are advanced is through the use of symbols and media to normalize and hide abuse in plain sight. These symbols are often embedded in corporate logos, art, and entertainment, acting as a form of coded language for those initiated into these circles. For the rest of us, they can have a subliminal effect, desensitizing society to disturbing themes. Think of the prevalence of certain symbols associated with pedophilia, such as the butterfly, often used in trauma-based mind control programming, or specific geometric shapes and spirals that appear repeatedly in children's television and movies. These are not always coincidences, they are often deliberate placements. Hollywood and the entertainment industry have played a significant role in this process. For decades, the public has been exposed to content that blurs the lines and sexualizes children. Popular movies and cartoons from major studios like Disney have faced scrutiny for containing hidden messages or imagery that are deeply inappropriate for their young audience. These are not harmless jokes for the animators. They are part of a broader cultural grooming process. When society is constantly exposed to the subtle suggestion that childhood innocence is something to be mocked or exploited, the moral boundaries begin to erode, making it easier for real-world predators to operate without raising alarm. The music industry is another powerful vehicle for this disturbing messaging. Music videos frequently feature hypersexualized imagery, sometimes involving young-looking performers, and lyrics that glorify predatory behavior. Famous artists who are idolized by millions of young fans are sometimes used to push these agendas. Their connection to disgraced figures like R. Kelly or Jeffrey Epstein reveals a disturbing network of complicity. By associating these dark themes with popular, trendy artists, the industry makes them seem acceptable or even glamorous. It is a calculated strategy to corrupt the youth and break down their natural sense of what is right and wrong. This normalization is a form of psychological warfare. When we see these symbols and themes repeatedly, our minds begin to accept them as part of the landscape. It conditions us to not be shocked when we hear about these crimes. The goal is to make the unthinkable seem normal. The art and media we consume shape our perception of reality. By controlling the narrative and the imagery, these elite groups can hide their evil in the open, confident that most people will either not notice or will dismiss it as art or entertainment. Being aware of these tactics is the first step in reclaiming our culture from their influence. For decades, the stories of survivors of ritual abuse were dismissed as fantasy, the product of unreliable memories or mental illness. Brave individuals who came forward to speak about their experiences in elite, organized rings were often ridiculed, threatened, and systematically discredited. Yet their testimonies have remained chillingly consistent over the years. Many describe being subjected to abuse from a very young age by groups of people, sometimes including their own family members. They recount elaborate rituals, the use of drugs to induce compliance and confusion, and sophisticated methods of psychological manipulation designed to shatter their identity and create alternate personalities to hide the trauma. One of the most common threads in survivor testimonies is the concept of trauma-based mind control. Survivors like Kathy O'Brien, author of Transformation of America, have detailed how these horrific experiences are systematically used to fragment a child's mind. This process, often referred to as programming, makes it possible for handlers to control the victim's behavior and ensure the secrets are never revealed. When these survivors do begin to remember, their memories often surface in terrifying flashbacks and fragments, making it difficult for them to form a coherent narrative that law enforcement or the public will believe. This is a deliberate tactic used by the perpetrators to ensure their victims are never seen as credible witnesses. The stories of former insiders and whistleblowers add another layer of proof. These individuals have risked their lives to expose the inner workings of these groups, confirming the accounts of survivors. They speak of a hidden world operating in parallel to our own, complete with its own codes, symbols, and rules. They describe how children are bought and sold, used in ceremonies, and trafficked between powerful individuals across the globe. Documents, ledgers, and flight logs like those associated with Jeffrey Epstein's network provide concrete evidence that corroborates these disturbing claims, showing a vast web of complicity that reaches the highest levels of power. Even when survivors were not believed at first, their courage has paved the way for justice. The accounts from victims of NXIVM, a self-help group that was exposed as a sex trafficking cult, initially sounded unbelievable to many. Yet the perseverance of survivors like Sarah Edmondson and India Oxenberg eventually led to the conviction of its leader, Keith Raniere. Their stories and countless others are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. We must learn to listen to these voices, to validate their experiences, and to recognize that the unbelievable has been happening right under our noses for far too long. Their truth is the key to exposing this darkness. In the face of such profound evil, it is essential to ground ourselves in a moral framework that unequivocally condemns these acts. The teachings of Yahweh, as recorded in the Bible, are crystal clear on the sacred value of children and the severe consequences for those who harm them. In Matthew chapter 18 verse 6, Jesus delivers one of the most powerful warnings in all of Scripture. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him to have a great millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea. This is not a subtle metaphor. It is a declaration of the extreme gravity of this sin. Yahweh's law views children as a blessing, a heritage, and the embodiment of innocence and trust. Psalm 127 verse 3 states, "Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb, a reward." To harm a child is therefore not just an act of violence against another human being, it is a direct affront to God Himself. It is a defilement of His sacred gift. The spiritual motivations of these elite abusers to steal power and mock God by destroying innocence are precisely why the judgment for these acts is so severe. They are engaging in a form of satanic rebellion, and they will be held accountable by the ultimate authority. This divine mandate to protect children is a responsibility given to all of us. It is not enough to simply be outraged, we must be vigilant. We are called to be guardians of the innocent, to create a world where children are safe to grow and flourish without fear. This requires us to cultivate discernment, to pay attention to the signs of abuse, and to question the narratives we are fed by mainstream media and powerful institutions. Your instincts are a God-given tool. If something feels wrong, if a person or situation seems predatory, do not dismiss that feeling. It may be the Holy Spirit warning you of a hidden danger. Let this knowledge empower you to become an advocate for the vulnerable. Do not be paralyzed by the scale of the evil, but be moved to action in your own sphere of influence. Support survivors, educate your community, and hold leaders accountable. Pray for justice and for the protection of all children. The fight against this darkness is both a spiritual and a physical battle, but it is one we must engage in. We must be the voice for those who cannot speak for themselves, and a shield for the defenseless. Let us stand together and declare that our children are not for sale, they are not for sacrifice, and we will not stand by while they are harmed.